Listen, we're talking about practice. Not a game, not a game, not a game. We're talking about practice. Hello, friends and neighbors. Welcome back to the Brownstone. My name is Rich Brown. Thank you all for visiting me here. And as I said in the intro, we're talking about practice, not a game. Because I've received a lot of messages over the last few weeks about developing a good practice routine and specifically about my practice routine. So this is what we're going to talk about today. There might not be a whole lot of playing in this video. I say might because you never know. But let's get into it. One of the questions that I get quite often is probably one of the first things that we really have to focus on when we get into the shed, and that is getting into the right frame of mind, the right headspace. How do we do that? The way that I do that is to remember all of the reasons why we picked this instrument up in the first place. There was an initial inspiration that made us fall in love with the instrument. And I think sometimes the pressure of, seeing other videos on social media that might go viral with bass players, shredding the instrument, whatever. And also the pressure that you put on yourself to be awesome, which is useless, that can really bring you down and make you just want to put the bass in the corner and not touch it ever again. So you can't let that stuff get to you. You are on your own path. This is something that I say on the channel quite often. You're not in competition with anyone. Just go at your own pace. I also get a lot of messages saying I am only on this certain video on your channel. As if there's any pressure to have to have all the videos on this channel down, by the time that I, upload the next video. No. Don't worry about that. We're building a whole library of lessons on this channel, and they're always going to be there. And there are plenty of other really great bass channels that you can learn from as well. All those videos will be there. There's no need for you to catch up or put pressure on yourself to master any of these lessons right now. Actually, there's no pressure to master any of these lessons at all. Take the pressure off of yourself and just get into the idea that you love this instrument and there was something about this instrument that made you want to pick it up in the first place. Those are the things you have to remember. And the whole thing about playing music has to do with the word playing. Playing. You got to have fun when you play. That's what the word implies. So that's a good way to get into the right sort of mindset. So beyond that, for me, there are three sort of main components of a good practice routine. My practice routine usually runs 2 to 3 hours. Having said that, I never get into the shed and say, I'm going to sit down and play for 2 hours. I don't want to do that. Again, I don't need that kind of pressure to have to produce something and set that amount of time to do something awesome. I don't need that. Even if I sit down for 15 minutes and have a really productive practice session for 15 minutes, I have won the day. That's all I need. As long as you are challenging yourself and learning something new on the instrument, you can take as much or as little time as you need, as long as you get that idea into your brain. That's all it is. There's a great quote from Pat Metheny where he said, I want to practice the things that I can't play. It's very important. So for me, that's the goal of any practice session, just to learn some kind of new idea. That includes learning new music for a gig or a recording or what have you. So the first thing that I have to do is warm up. Just a simple warm-up exercise. Now, if you're a beginner, then you can just take a very simple idea of playing one finger per fret on all of the strings. So even something like this is a good warm-up. Just 1, 2, 3, 4 on all 4 strings. And then go back. your warm-up can be anything you want, as long as it's something that gets the fingers ready for the next challenge. There's also this pattern. Remember the chromatic pattern that we did? So some sort of exercise that really gets the fingers moving and grooving and ready to take on the next challenge. The thing about, all of these things, all of these exercises, many of the exercises that we've talked about here on the channel, you can place your focus on either hand because they're good workouts for both, right? So if you want to warm up and really focus on your left hand technique, making sure all of the notes are nice and clean, no spaces between the notes, no buzzing, your fingers are right up against the fret. And then you can do the same exercise and focus on the right hand and make sure that you're alternating the fingers. Using the rest strokes where possible and, playing as relaxed as you possibly can. Now you're ready to go. For me, what I like to do is I'll take a random mode. We've been talking about the modes lately. I'll take a random mode and then a random sequential pattern. So let's say I take, ascending thirds on a Phrygian scale. I'll do that. So I'll get the scale under my fingers. That's my Phrygian scale. I'm starting on A at the 5th fret of the E string. And then I'll just play ascending thirds. We've talked about this before. Maybe I want to alternate. So that'll be a good warm-up for me. Now, for some of you, if you're just a beginner, maybe that's going to be the bulk of your exercise. Maybe your exercise will focus on, practicing sequential patterns on certain modes, or just practicing the modes themselves, getting the shapes under your fingers. But as Pat Metheny said, you want to practice the things that you can't play. So, I'm working on a few things now, trying to get some new vocabulary under the fingers. I won't play it for you because I don't want to embarrass myself. But for me, the bulk of my exercise usually involves adding some sort of new idea. So this could be the same for you. If you want to work on triads, if you want to work on chord patterns, chord progressions, if you want to work on your reading, use that time and take at least 15 minutes. Let's say 10 minutes, even 10, a good productive 10 minutes. But it can be as much or as little time as you want, as long as it's productive. Because, sometimes you can sit down and just noodle on the bass for hours and get absolutely nothing done. I mean, it's good to spend time with the instrument, but you also want to do something that's creative and honest and hopefully challenging. So that's sort of the bulk of my exercise, and that's the second component. So we have the warm-up, and then we have sort of the main idea, the main challenge of your practice session. And finally, I think a very important part of practicing is making music by yourself. Really getting an understanding of your relationship with your instrument, how it feels in the hands, how you access the notes and the fluidity of your lines, and how the bass sort of reacts to your touch. This is very important. And what I like to do is I'll just improvise on my own. Now, this is something that you can do, after your warm-up or at the end of your practice session. I usually treat this as like a cool down. Once I've done everything else, then I'll just try to make some music by myself. So there are a number of ways that we can approach this. You can either do something where you just put on one of your favorite songs and play along. Or you can just try to create some grooves on your own and just kind of like get down. Or you can just practice soloing unaccompanied. No backing tracks, no drones, nothing else. Just you and the instrument. Because with this, what you're really doing is you're working on your musical instinct, your ability to react to whatever it is that you hear. When I do this, the thing is I'm constantly trying to answer the question, what happens next? If I hear a note, what happens after that note? What am I hearing? So what I'm doing is I'm trying to build something that ends up being quite compositional and not just me playing a bunch of licks. Like I'm really trying to use my ear and my musical instinct to come up with something that means something. We're really trying to use that time to make some honest music just on our own. The cool thing about exercising this way is that, in working on that musical instinct, it's great because, first you're on your own. So you're really learning how to create and improvise. But then the other thing is when you get on stage or in a rehearsal space with a group of musicians, now you have all of these other instruments giving you ideas, giving you little bits of inspiration. And the more you work on this kind of practice, the faster your musical instinct becomes. Your ability to react to whatever it is that you hear gets sharper and sharper the more that you do this. So that's one way to approach this kind of cool down. And then the other thing is you can just play some grooves. Put on a metronome at a nice comfortable tempo and then just try to make up some cool grooves. Let me try that one time and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Here, Anna 1 is back and I've got her set to, 75 BPM with beats 1 and 3 turned off. And I'm just gonna practice grooving. Right? Got that tempo in the body. And then I can just play. Just make up a nice groove. Yeah, I like that. Sometimes I'll get into a zone and that can last for an hour. Just making up music on, by myself, on my own. It's a beautiful thing. And when you get into that zone, you don't want to stop. It can go on and on and on. But you're creating, you're doing something that is really productive in the practice room and coming up with ideas that maybe you might not have heard of if you're just, practicing scales or learning different things in different ways. You're really trying to play what it is that you are honestly hearing in your mind. And that's a really great way to sort of enhance your overall musicality as a bass player, as a musician, as a creator. So maybe I'll leave it there for now, my friends and neighbors. Let me know in the comment section what you're working on. What are you practicing? What's keeping you busy these days? What's keeping you challenged these days? And we'll have, we'll talk about it a little bit. All right, my friends and neighbors, if you do like this video, please do me a huge favor and just click like. It does a lot for the video and pushes it out to more and more people so that they can be aware of what we're doing here. Also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and you can also become a member of the channel for $5 a month. How cool is that? That really helps me out. All of the above helps me out in a huge way and allows me to keep these videos coming to you. And if you are in a position to do so, you can always donate to the channel. I will leave the link in the description box below. I am very grateful for all the feedback that this channel is getting, and it's great to know that these videos are helping bass players everywhere. That really means a lot to me. So thank you all for the support. I really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. And it's great to see this channel constantly growing. We're gonna hit 15,000 subscribers pretty soon. And my next goal is 20,000. So we're gonna get there. I think we're gonna get there soon. All right, my dear friends and neighbors, I'm gonna leave it there and wish you all well. Thank you as always for visiting me here in the brownstone. And I will see you in the next video. Peace. Practice, not a game.